All right, welcome back to Rooted, the Art Arbor Podcast for episode 20, another milestone for us.
Gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's they say most people just make like 5 and then they quit. So here we are. If you're listening, we appreciate you.
Yeah, we really do. It's been a lot of fun doing this together. I think I've had so much fun just getting on, even on times when you always don't want to, but making community here and conversation. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so if you're not a usual listener of the pod, we're actually going to give a little bit of background on how the pod's been going, then a little bit of information about ourselves because we frequently tell stories and whatnot, but thought it'd be good to interview each other on this pod and then also kind of talk about what's going on in the Art Arbor community for the rest of 2026 as we still are beginning the new year. So, I'm Jake Vanderhayden, host and moderator of Rooted, and I've been with Art Arbor now for 3 years since we've all started this community together. Joined by my co-host Andrew Arden over here,
Yeah,
holding down on the co-hosting responsibilities, and just open up to you. Tell our
yeah,
listeners a little bit about how the pod's been going.
yeah. Well, if we want to get into interviewing you, I first want to dig in. Give me the about like the origin story or the moment when it kind of all hit for you to get into Arbor and sink your teeth fully into it.
Yeah, so I think my origin story, I guess I can give the extended background of how I got to where I am. I know on our social media we did, what is your why? And it really got me thinking about what I'm contributing to our community and why I continue to do what I do. But I guess the origin story really comes back all the way to the beginning of my touch points with art. I guess my upbringing with my family, specifically my mom, had a lot of exposure to art. She's a singer, performer, and always, had cultural enrichment opportunities, which I think that's super important. And obviously, a lot of great educators, even in my earlier years. I remember some good elementary art and music teachers that got us going. I hope most people have that experience, but I think what it really developed was when I started playing the saxophone in middle school. Rest in peace to Shelley Rowland, great band director, well known throughout Michigan, just passed this last year, but really influential on my work ethic, on my musicianship, on my craft. I almost quit band to do some more advanced study program, like on the academic side of school. And I remember she like individually talked to me about, what art and music can do for you in your life. And, at such a young age, like obviously, I was like 12 or 13 or something. I didn't know much about the world, period, but definitely not a lot about art and music. And I just remember her, emphasizing like, hey, this is where your friends are. You're going to grow a lot. You're good at your instrument. There's a lot ahead for you. And she really encouraged me to stay playing the saxophone, staying in band, and that's ultimately what I did. And then went on to do a lot, private study, some traveling. I got some really good opportunities throughout the state of Michigan to work with some really good people that I studied with for saxophone in classical and in jazz. And then got to go. I joined marching band, which is something I really didn't want to do, but I did that for actually 8 years and through college as well. Uh, then I started teaching some students, and when you start teaching, the creative process or the fundamentals of the instrument or art creation in general, I think you really get an appreciation for the whole thing when you're teaching someone else. Because I think when you're learning and you're going through your process, you're just figuring out the world. But then when you're like deconstructing that world and translating it over to someone else, it really makes an impact. So I think, that was another moment that kept me so passionate about what I did, organizing ensembles and doing things outside of school that was not necessary. I had a jazz combo in high school that, I had not even really heard of a jazz combo. I guess I was in the big band in high school, but kind of got some exposure from some various mentors that came through. I know still one that is a frequent collaborator of ours today with all of us in our team is Jordan Van Hemert. We had him on the podcast talk
Yeah.
about rooted, right? Going way back in the story, but he was brought in to work with my high school band program and mentor students through marching band, but then he came in and worked in concert band and with the jazz band and individual private studio lessons and things at my school, and built that relationship over time. But like I said, that kind of inspired me to pursue more things in jazz even before I was in college. And we've talked a lot on the pod here about those years. But I'd say some really, like I said, really cool opportunities. I think that can inspire you. Like I got to go to Disney World and march in a parade there. That was a really unique experience to go through the Disney music program. And I also got the extremely lucky opportunity of a lifetime to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City with my concert band, my senior year of high school. And I think like supporting those types of initiatives and funding, donating, attending, engaging, anything with that type of stuff is really critical with being in a community of art and seeing like what it takes to pull off some of those things, from the ensemble itself, the intense, commitment to excellence and playing difficult repertoire and all those things really, inspired me as an artist. And, I thought that I was going to go into a career in art at that point, just kind of seeing all of that unfold in high school for me. But, I had conversations with a lot of mentors and, just started to see the reality of, coming out of that embryo, so to speak, or the cocoon or whatever you want to call it, of that safe space where, I could be first chair in the band and, go out in marching band and section leader. And, I kind of had all this backing to my point, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Like, maybe this is what I want to do. But then, I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit to me. I had, unrelated to all that, besides my like private lesson studio. I don't. When do you get to call it a studio? I can like. Is
Yeah,
it like
really.
you got to have 10 students? When does it become a studio? I had like 3. They're middle
Yeah.
schoolers. Nothing
Mhm.
crazy, but yeah. But besides that, I ran my own like landscaping business, and I was really always interested in like how I could help people and how I could earn income for myself, work
Mhm.
for myself, because
Mhm.
I was working at McDonald's, and there's a lot of things you can learn from that. But obviously, most people would agree that's not great. So I was like,
Mhm.
hey, I don't want to do that. I want to work for myself. So I learned a lot just doing a basic business like that, and marketing and working with clients and making sure they're satisfied. And I will say there is an art to mowing a lawn. I think a good Midwestern lawn is an art form. But
Yeah.
that all of that kind of compounded into me having that crossroads where I really had to decide between having an art career and having like some other career, seemingly a business career. I got accepted into a few schools, started looking at their business program, looking at their music program, and at the end of the day, we had a topic that in a couple podcasts ago with uh, art work life balance, and I feel like
Mhm.
what
Oh, yeah.
really tipped me over the edge, I think, was when I lost my work life balance, because I was between my junior and senior year of high school practicing several hours a day on top of playing several hours a day. I had 3 ensembles during the day, so half my course load of high school even was just playing saxophone. I had a
Mm-hmm.
private study where I just practiced every day. I practiced before school, after school, had marching band practice after school. I played at my church for many years. It was also pretty formative in my art community experience. I should
Mm-hmm.
definitely mention that. Really good experience there as well. So I was just playing saxophone as much as possible, and if I hit roadblocks, creatively or technically, it kind of frustrated me, and it was definitely taking away from other parts of my life, like even just like studying. Like my grades started to dip in a couple other classes. Um, I had a big
Mm-hmm.
wake up moment with that, but
Mm-hmm.
that's why, like, part of this artist optimization, that series that we've worked on with our team here at Art Arbor, is so important to work on personal development, between your mental health and your personal aspirations and development and networking, and all of these things are so critical, because even if you're a good business person and you're good at marketing and you're good at selling yourself and you're good at your art, there's no guarantee that that's all going to hold up. I think that that's such an
Mm-hmm.
important pillar, in our grind culture, that's ignored. And I think I learned that lesson really early on, and that's ultimately what pushed me away from staying in that creative lane long term, was that I got burnt out. Like, it was just too many hours dedicated to that. And there, I think sometimes, especially at that age, it's hard to see the payout too, just because I had a lot of negative reinforcement around. I won't mention what educator this was, but I had an educator tell me that you're just going to end up at a desk job or flipping burgers or something with your jazz degree if you go try to be a jazz musician. And that was like really discouraging. So,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a good thing to tell people at all.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and a lot of time, I had gotten exposure to that world of people that had went to school for music, because that the growing up as a zillennial, or whatever they call us, not we're not Gen Z, we're not accepting that, but
No.
the
No.
millennials don't accept us either,
Yeah, we're in between, stuck in between.
as zillennial, um,
Mhm.
where that we were kind of the millennial dream was like, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, and you'll have the American dream. But I think that's all come to a head, and I think our generation was the first generation that really, like, that escalated, where it's like nothing was a promise, and I'd seen a lot of other musicians specifically that went to school and they just ended up teaching, which is great. Like, I loved, like, my wife is a teacher, all my good friends are teachers, going through a lot of music stuff throughout my life. I just know so many teachers. It's definitely a great thing if that's your thing. But I think a lot of
Mhm.
musicians are pushed into teaching because it's the only income stream for them, and they can't really
Mhm.
pursue their art. And I think professionally, that's where I felt frustrated, is as I was like, I actually love mentoring and teaching, but like I really didn't want to be like a high school band teacher. Like, that was
Mhm.
not my
Mhm.
aspiration at all. And that's kind of what it looked like. It was like, you're gonna continue this path of burnout, and you're going to keep pushing really hard on your instrument, but the reward at the end is just that you're going to be a high school band teacher. And that just really didn't fulfill my needs, right?
Mhm.
So I basically shut down I stopped, no more auditions, I stopped practicing, kind of,
Mhm.
like, just kind of opened myself up to the universe, I guess. And I, decided to go to Grand Valley State University. I got accepted in the business school before I started there, as that was my other avenue that I was going to pursue. I really liked, management, leadership, and things like that. So that's how I got into there. But I still loved what I wanted to do, and I told myself my balance was that I was, and this is definitely not like our goal for artists, but myself, it was, I'm going to make the art something that I like doing. It's not something that I'm going to hate doing, and that
Mhm.
toxicity is like really a core origin story of Art Arbor. It's like if I can prevent that issue from happening to someone else,
Mhm.
like for the rest of time through this community of Art Arbor, like that's why we're doing this. Like that's the real core origin story of everything. So, throughout college met our co-founder team here, Andrew and Tim, and
Yeah.
got this moment, had a lot of great mentors and educators and really successful artists that we were exposed to. We've mentioned in the pod, Mike Drost, great
Mhm.
networker and uh, career of music business and brushing that off onto all of us through collaboration and direct education in our coursework and inside outside the classroom, on the bandstand, off the bandstand. So that's really how I ended up here. That's my story, and that's my why of why Art Arbor needs to exist, because someone shouldn't have to face that reality that they can't pursue their art because of societal structure, financial pressure, and the other concerns that someone might have from that endless pursuit. And it's not for everyone. I mean, we have a pretty targeted audience of artists that you know
Totally.
we're trying to reach out to people that do want to pursue their art full time, and to have the capacity to do that. You do need to be paid. Like you do need to put a roof over your head. You need to survive. So,
Absolutely. Mhm.
and really, if you are, a professional tradesman of any type, you should be compensated correctly for what you're doing. And
Mhm.
that's what we're doing here in our mission. But yeah,
There's
I
that.
just don't want that to
Yeah.
happen to anyone else, like what happened to me.
Yeah. It's that space between like 0 and 1, sort of like that initial launch or getting up and making sense of like, what is it to partake in the economic space, and in exchange of value and funds. And I think there's so many more possibilities at the digital and technological frontier that can allow for more artistry to thrive. For there to be almost a middle market. A middle. You don't have to be. It feels so. At least from what we've studied in our experience, it seems percentage of those doing full-time music and really thriving is in or art or drawing or graphic design. Um, it it's a struggle, or it can be a struggle, and there are many who have to go out and get different jobs, and then have to basically kind of give up that the passion that makes their maybe their soul go on fire, or it makes them feel like they're in flow or in that state of real abundance, and I love that story. It was so awesome just to sit and listen to you, Jake, for like 15 minutes. That was such a cool story. Um, so thanks for sharing, man. I'm wondering what about, you kind of hinted at some things. What about the community for you really helped you and supported you in some ways, where you or that arbor, so to speak, you know? Mm.
Yeah, I think just being in band in general, anyone that's in band can relate to that. It's your home, and
Yeah,
even
so art.
going from, I think I found an even better home in that community, like in college, than I did in high school. I mean, I had a lot of really good friends that I loved what I did at the end of the day in high school, but I think there was another layer where we all came in from that experience and we had to recreate that in our own new way, blending with and absorbing into the tradition that was there. Specifically, I think like marching bands are really good at this. It's just like such like a difficult task that you come together and you just have such this big wow factor to the audience. Most people are just like
Mhm.
amazed at that. And I think that um that community, even if the stuff that's not related to your art, just like people that have a common shared experience with you that are going through the same thing as you, bring you closer
Mhm.
together. I like I said, I met all these guys. I met my wife. I met everyone through my college band and through some
Mhm.
of the other ensembles I had. But that community is like so important, just like in your own personal life. I think like lifelong bonds that you build, and going on to do great things and collaborating in the future off of that. And it all comes from, like I said, your shared experience in art. Like we probably never would have all met or collaborated or innovated or anything that we did. Or like I said, Art Arbor period was birthed out of that collaboration in an artistic community. And that's why it's important. I think musicians are really good at this because we often have to be, but I think there's definitely a lot of artists that probably are in solitude a lot. Like I can imagine like visual artists in particular, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
really important. Like to me, like the concept of a gallery or like an opening of a gallery where you have all these different artists in one room, all their different pieces of art on the wall, and everyone's there appreciating it and discussing it, and the artist is sharing their thoughts on it, and having that type of environment where you can collaborate and network is so critical. And you can't really have appreciators of art or an audience or ultimately a customer or client or the reality of an art business. You can't have that without a really strong community, and building your network is the best way. Because when we talk about flywheel, building demand as being the critical factor of success, specifically in our modern environment online, the biggest one that are your advocates. Those are your people that are doing marketing for you. When you're an artist and you have people buzzing online being like, or like you think about these huge artists that have like I just Bruno Mars just had the largest traffic and pre-sale ever. I think I saw some headlines like that. Like I'm like, did that really beat Taylor Swift? But
No,
um,
I can dig.
just
Yeah, keep going.
just like the amount of demand that is brought to his art by the community of his fans, like he like didn't even have to, they marketed, but like it's like when you're that big, it's like you almost don't have to market because you have so many people advocating for you. Like every group chat of people that are into that kind of stuff was like going off. Like Bruno's going on tour again, he's got a new album coming out. Like when people do the marketing for you, that's community. That's what community is when you are not just trying to promote yourself, but you're uplifting others. And that's why what we want to do, why we want to bring people together at Art Arbor, is because we believe in that power of that network.
I just Clauded. I used a Claude chatbot here. It said yes, Bruno Mars' most recent tour launch has already broken records. So
Yeah.
yeah, has a few. Oh wow, cool. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I love that. Something that you really turned me on to is like the demand creation piece of some of this stuff. Like, where do you see it kind of going now? Maybe kind of paint the picture a little bit for me. How does the intersection of art and abundance change maybe in a technological front?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, most of our lives are dictated by algorithms. I think anyone who's seen the documentary The Social Dilemma
Oh,
understands.
yep. Hmm.
uh, Check it out on Netflix. It might
Oh,
make you
yeah.
delete all the accounts you have, but uh,
Yeah.
I I think that that the algorithm is really getting to a point where a niche that you're interested in is what is served to you. So when you post yourself as a creative or whoever, but specifically as a creative, like really the algorithms like volume of content. Like obviously they want people on their platform, they want them engaged, and it's just a reality. But there's a lot of tools. There's AI editing tools, there's AI tools to create captions for you, to create content for you, to add effects to your content, where I think a lot of artists just totally slam AI, and we talk about it a lot on the podcast here, but I think AI can be a huge productivity tool to you getting more out there, which is a huge thing that people don't want to do. But if you don't want to do it, we'll help you. Reach out. Arbor,
Exactly.
info@artarbor.community, send us a DM.
Yeah.
Shameless plug, but
We're here to help.
we are here to help you if you need help, or we'll find someone that will help you.
Exactly.
But I think that's where I really see demand creation going, is people having these really specific interests in building a community around that. And then that really specific interest could lead them to another really specific interest that you had. I think we've discussed already a little bit about the great Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V has shared
Yeah.
recently about he calls it like the Walmart of your brand. Like, don't just be posting one type of content. Like, you need to have different types of content, different lengths of content, different formats of content, and maybe like a long video about you cooking, or a short video about you traveling, or a
Mm.
moderate video about creating your art. Like, all these different things are part of you, and it's really an interesting manifestation of your brand. And your brand, in this quote Walmart of yourself, is really selling you. You're selling your whole brand, not just your art. And that's where I think you can really stand out. And you see some creators that have been really successful in demand creation is, people want authenticity on these platforms. I think TikTok over the last 5 years has really showed us that people don't want a highly produced, New York City marketing agency ad. Like, people people always want to be sold to. Like, even though you think you don't want to be sold to, like, we love being sold to.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you think about like what a lot of people want to spend their money on, it's like their Netflix subscription, their concert tickets, their, night out at the movies, their, favorite art gallery that they want to go to, and museums. And like, when you have free time, or even like some ultimate manifestations of creativity, like people want to go to Disneyland. Think about how many artists it took to pull off all of that. It's like, whenever we want to like escape the world and like understand our humanity, like, we really want some artists to provide an experience for us. Because I
Yeah.
mean, besides the art of nature, it's like that, like, our culture is from art. So, there is a huge demand for art. I mean,
Absolutely. A
like,
need for, I think, overall well-being and coexistence and
yes,
expression, and
a need
absolutely.
for it. And now, that people spend more screen time, maybe generation by generation, or different types of demographics could influence, but people spend more screen time on these platforms than they do on traditional formats of media. So I think it's really important to make sure that you're not limiting what is out there, and because the algorithm might pick up on something that would surprise you. And just take a look at some of your content and see what's performing well and what's helping you create demand, because ultimately that higher funnel traffic that you're going to be getting from TikTok or YouTube shorts or Instagram reels, that, and particularly video content, at this point, just think about how much of your feed is short form video. I mean, that's how people are entertained or getting news or just filling their time, is from these pieces of short form video content. And if you're not doing that, that's what you got to start doing for sure.
Mm.
If you really want to reach people, they need to hear your voice, because you see thousands and thousands of pieces of information every day. And connecting authentically with a person in a video, you can't do that quite as well through a post or through text.
Mm.
Obviously in a digital format, it's not the same as a face-to-face interaction, which would be the best way to connect with people. But connecting with your audience through video is so critical nowadays, and bringing your whole self to your brand is really important. And that's the biggest trend that I see going on, and that we've been trying to bring to our experience online. And what this podcast is, this is the ultimate manifestation of connection, is having this long form conversation online for our community to hear directly what we're thinking and what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think there's these conversations seem sometimes so can be so daunting or difficult about like what is it, how you combine these two, like there's like three things happening. There's art, there's technology, and then there's this demand, creation where we're kind of meet in between, and how understanding how something as basic as bookkeeping to financial modeling would work, or pricing and all these different legal structuring. I mean, I was recently doing some studying on Dua Lipa and her rise to who she is today, the whole history, and um, a really important figure in her life, I think, from a business perspective, is actually her dad. Her dad has been, who was a musician, I think, or is maybe still. Um, you can go out and find. She has like something crazy like 20 LLCs or S corps or like business entities that break up all of like everything that she has, and um, and you see these large brands monetizing this sort of Walmart thing, like we were talking about, doing like a cologne or clothing or liquor or whatever it may be. I think now in the digital era, to what you're talking about earlier, anyone can do that, and you can share just online and maybe generate one of the four pieces of leverage. The four C's of leverage: code, capital, content, and community. So by having content, you can generate some of this attention and maybe do so many different things like monetizing it, like Gary V stand store challenge. There's so many ways to go about it. Yeah, Jake, you've been so hip to that stuff. I guess right now, is there anything else? I guess you want to share about maybe some of the future, kind of moonshots, like what's going to change maybe this year, or how, what are some things you want to give away?
Yeah, I think 2026 is going to be the full adoption of AI in our society,
Oh,
the
yeah.
average person. I think the tech optimists or whatever you want to call it, the people that are ahead of the curve already did this a few years ago. They have agents and things working for them on their behalf. And then last year, I think it's finally the phase where it's like, maybe your parents are like, "What's this Chat GPT thing?"
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
take a look at that. And just the implementation that the tech companies have started to implement, like in my vehicle, that there's AI now. I mean, you're going to start seeing AI companionship, and I think we've said it a lot on the pod here. Like, don't like. I think the AI optimist perspective is that it's going to open up a lot of opportunity for us to create and to be artists and not have to do the things that we don't want to do. And I think as
exactly.
an
Yeah.
artist, like writing a business plan, writing captions for your articles, writing uh, captions for your videos, like these things that you have to do but you don't really want to do, or
Mhm.
just getting advice, like always be a little skeptical about the results, but it's pretty scary how good these chatbots are at this point, but scary in a good way. Like, it just really
Mhm.
solves your problem. It can save you from like costs that you might have, like getting a starting point on some legal advice or some tax advice. Like, and I don't want to advocate people losing their jobs, but I think at the same time you also have to see the benefit of you not having to spend money on something, like especially when you're a creative,
Mhm.
and you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from, that having this coach in your pocket is really an immense advantage that
Mhm.
most artists have never had. They've had to do these things or rely on some large entity like a record company or a distributor or a studio, or some kind of concentration of power to give them the opportunities that great artists have had. I think now, with the ability to post for free, and that could go away, we have the opportunity right now to create content and be paid for it and to grow and to go viral. But besides going viral, like, you don't have to go viral. You can build a really good online community and following without having this massive outreach, right? It's like you can do so much and monetize an audience, move them from high funnel random algorithm encounter down mid funnel to engaging with some of your longer YouTube video content pieces. Maybe you have Facebook groups or a Reddit group or a Discord or something to engage with them in a community. And then eventually, once you build people's trust, they become those advocates for you, that you have your flywheel moving where they're purchasing from you, they're reviewing you, they're giving you praise, and they're recommending you to others and moving you through that cycle of demand, that they're in that lower funnel, that you can bring more people into your funnel and have more recurring revenue for what you want to do. I think understanding that funnel and that model and building demand and focusing on building demand is going to be a really key thing. And I think AI is going to be a huge tool to help build demand, just giving you an
Mhm.
action plan. ask the AI, tell it your goals by the end of the year and write this down, do this as homework, write down your goals and save what, ChatGPT or Gemini tells you as an action plan. If you don't like it, chat with it a little bit, refine it, tell it I don't want to do that or this or that, or may have it give you suggestions. And then throughout 2026, execute on that flawlessly. Like if it tells you you should try posting every day, then keep a log, monitor the statistics, make sure you're doing it and stick with it. And come back at the end of the year and see what happens, because I think you'll be amazed at what happens when you can supercharge your productivity and build demand through an action plan and execute on that. And that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to talk about this, I think, a little later on, but we're actually going through a 3-month challenge starting in February through April. And hopefully maybe we'll continue that momentum onward, but we're going to commit to getting some piece of content posted every day for 3 months to build our community and our commitment to everyone in our community. So you stay tuned for all that, but it's because we're excited and we want to get our message out, and that's the only way to do it, is to be consistent, and we want to grow. So help us engage with our content. That's the biggest, like I said, it takes a village. It takes this community to do that. So we'd appreciate it. And hopefully you find value in it too, not just for the sake of helping us, but hopefully it helps you too from what value that we're going to bring.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I actually was learning today the differences between AI bots, actually. Like, I think there's kind of like some terminology. It's like, so there's generative AI versus agentic AI. So you've got these kind of like 4 different levels. You have the bots, just like a regular autonomous software program designed to perform a specific repetitive task. And then you've got AI chatbots, specific types of intelligent bots that you can interface with, like a ChatGPT or something like that. But now there's also these AI assistants that are sophisticated AI programs designed to understand a particular plan in place, like a Microsoft Copilot as an example, or a personal assistant, which some of these have capabilities to do so. And then the fully autonomous would be like an AI agent, which I think we're still on the cusp of full, complete, and utter autonomy. But who knows? I don't know. I mean, we see one thing in the news, but I think there's more advancements happening than that don't make it to the media.
Yeah. Well, enough on my side of things. Let's switch over to way back on your side of things, where your origin story and your why came from, what you've done as an artist, and where you see yourself going, or what you see Art Arbor doing in your role and all of that.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I work a few hours a week at Home Depot, and I'll never forget when I was actually in the paint department at Home Depot. I have a plumbing shift tomorrow, but in the paint section, and I remember so distinctly a summer evening one time at my mom's house, and it was I found some paint cans. I think I found like the mixers and the little wood mixers, and I remember just playing on them like almost quad drums, marching band, and so it's kind of like full circle. Sometimes I'll play on the 5-gallon pans so make like, because I'll like all the 5-gallon buckets have pitches when you hit them, like a cajon or a djembe or something like a hand instrument. So you can pitch them, and then play little melodies and stuff. But I know I mean, my story goes back to when I was like 2 years old. I remember having a little drum, and playing on an instrument. I think it was just like something so early on for me that continued to capture my attention and my interest and my curiosity, and that was kind of becoming my expression. And I got the little snare pad and bell set, in middle school. I remember playing in elementary school. Jake, do you ever have like those little marimba things in elementary school? Remember those things? Yeah, those were fun.
Fun, it's like, I don't want to play the recorder. I want to bang on a drum,
Sure, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, "No, I wanna hit this thing and make loud sounds and do, these big motions," and, um, I was that kid who's definitely bombastic in the elementary. Back in the section, playing the bass one. I love just hitting that whacking that thing.
Uh,
So I was told to quiet down. And I was always tapping in class, dude. Oh my god, I was the tapper. I'll never forget in senior year. Yeah, I was in some calculus exam. I was like always the worst person in that class, bro. Bottom of the class, right? Like everyone's getting A in this class, but me, I'm like barely anybody to C, right? And everyone knows it. I'm just like, whatever. But I had fun in that class. And I remember tapping a little bit during an exam one time, and the teacher literally goes, "Does that bother anybody?" You know, and I was like, no one even gave it a second thought, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "His tapping," and everyone was like, "Oh no, I can't even hear it." And it was, and then she looked like she was just kind of like couldn't believe that everyone was okay with it. But I just remember being by that point, kind of finding my community and a lot of the band and arts people, being having these this kind of this necessity to create these little things, whether it's drawings or
mhm.
paintings, and I think it makes life so much more flavorful. I mean, I think enjoying these artistic things, whether as an observer or as a creator, let's say, both ends are just so beneficial to experience, because I think curiosity is key to keeping things fresh and equanimous, uh, and it's like enjoying art, going to the museum, having that experience can be so refreshing, and I think it fires so many different circuits in our brains, and I think it's interesting too to see some of the science behind. I once thought I was going to go into being like a more music therapist route, which I think music is absolute therapy. But I maybe looking back, I wish I found a way to kind of monetize my degree in college, because when I went through high school and into my middle school years, I just wanted to play music, and I'm I remember kind of finding this time when I realized that something wasn't quite right. You know what I'm saying? Like a disharmony, almost, so to speak. And that's kind of when my path kind of diverged into a way of going down pursue this interesting pursuit of technology and business and numbers, and just living a nice, like, overall holistic harmonious life. Does that make sense? Like I I was having a hard time with making my artistic ends meet while making also my bank account ends meet, and this cycle kind of happened. But I found these levels of curiosity in my life that picked up throughout my summer years, where I would go to uh, go work with a friend, or doing business development or creative content, or little bot automations. I remember like Chat back in the day. I went and sold cars for a little bit, just learning like what is it like to transact and to sell and to market, and now I found myself learning the books of things, and I started that a year ago doing bookkeeping. But I'm kind of like finding these levels of curiosity for me have helped made more of my artistic reality make sense. Um, and I've been so fortunate to have that gift, because I know like that level of abundance for me is just so heavy in gratitude, and I want to help anyone else in that same way, to where they can have this level of relief around how to still pursue their art, but also make their bank account make sense. And um, finding this Arbor back in college, like Jake was saying, it was just so cool to find this collaborative space. And man, we used to play together and collaborate together, and now we collaborate like this on a business front. Like, how can we be of service to this community of artists, and like work here, and we were here making these assets that we hope are helping people with understand the landscape, and how that business and art is meshed together, and how we can create more art and have that more of that middle market space, where we can still be having technology in a positive way, um, like AI, for example. I mean, we're talking about how it is so great, how AI chatbots are so amazing to do some of this monotony tasks that no one wants to do that are so repetitive. What if this expansion, I think from an environmental perspective, there is a level of, we have to consider the environmental impacts with some of these data centers too. I think there's like this double-edged sword with all of it, and that's something to really been paying attention to. So feel like Seth Bernard, he's been someone who's been um, talking online heavily about some AI. Maybe I can pull it up here. My Facebook's not working, but he's someone who I know has been a big online with talking about the effects of almost 9 data centers going into Michigan right now. Have you just side quest for a second, Jake? Is there anything like that going on in California where you're at?
In data center, like just the impact of data centers everywhere. Yeah, I mean it's happening.
Are there a number of like ones being put in actively by you right now, or is there like pushback by the community at all, or like what's that like?
I'd say it's a little less here, but I think it's impacting different communities different ways. I think they're putting it into communities that have more like resources between like power and water or land, and those communities don't want that impact there. I feel like in Southern California it's a little less different than maybe in Middle America. What's going on with building data centers?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I would think like 9 going in potentially right now, and then there's some that are so redacted. It's a pretty big pushback here in Michigan, but um, I mean, yeah, I know I just kind of spewed out a whole bunch of nonsense prior to that, but I for me, where I find myself from just a pure artistic sense in the kind of landscape of how things are right now, it's I think we all have to take advantage of, like you said, content posting right now. I'm really doing my best, and this challenge for us, I think, is so fun. And there's a lot of, I think, kind of, I hope gamification that comes out of it. That's the hope, right? Like to make
Mhm.
game out of such a thing. And as this challenge grows us and changes us, and we evolve and expand with our level of content and what that brings about, like there's level of game and challenge I think that can go from this pursuit of uh, constant expansion and growing too, and it requires clarity, and I think clarity is found through this community and Arbor people. And um, I mean, I could go on and on about the people that I've been blessed by for helping me along the way in my Arbor. Um, yeah.
We want to bring them all into ours, one big Art Arbor family.
uh,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
one I just shared on our Substack to our subscribers an image that I saw from Simon Sinek, who, if you don't are familiar with him, great author and speaker. But he talked in his post about community, and the graphic says community is a group of people that grow together, and I think that's what it is like we're always on this pursuit, but we need to grow together, find common ground and knowledge between each other and help each other to grow. That's the concept of a village. Tribal people, back in our ancestors helped each other to achieve what they wanted to get done, whether it was surviving or art. When it really came down to a village, it was like hunt, gather, and make art. That was about all you did. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of is a nice little segue into something that we've been thinking about, redefining what we're doing here. I know there's some confusion, even amongst ourselves sometimes, like what is our purpose? Like, what are we doing? So here's the workshop definition of Art Arbor right now. Art Arbor is a community-based digital ecosystem designed specifically to bridge the gap between creative passion and financial sustainability. So it's everything in between there, being a modern artist and working towards financial sustainability so that you can focus on what you are passionate about, your creative projects. And when we say digital ecosystem, we're talking about all of these different initiatives between some of our consulting work that we're we can directly work on your brand, help you connect with other people online, anywhere in the world. We can bring people together to help you build your arbor. In this digital ecosystem also, we still have aspirations to have a platform someday that people can access. But for now, we have our Substack community. We send a lot of updates through there, trying to build a ton of value in 2026 on that channel. We have our podcast here online. We have our online content on our socials. We're hoping to introduce some exciting collaborative events. We're going to do some digital artist networking, bringing together some speak with we're hoping to more details coming soon, but put together person events. I know Andy, you just did an in-person event. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. I was so grateful to be at All the Plug here in Grand Rapids. We had a great time. This is back a couple weeks ago where we did QuickBook tips, little tricks, and some AI bot tips and tricks, and some agent. So we talked a little bit about AI agents, and then we did a little FAQs. It was a lot of fun. We I think we covered a lot, and it was it's always good to have these conversations because it's even if it's a good refresher for other people, I know inspires growth in some way when you start to sit down with the numbers and get down to what really how it runs in the numbers, right? Like, because even if you're an artist who does it just for fun or not for fun or whatever, like there are still numbers involved. And I think the numbers you can have great insight, and with insight, there's a path to growth. Is that I think it's something that economically is very fundamental, but some people don't want to necessarily mix the two of artistry and both economics. But I think it's in finance, but it's necessary. And this is just the beginning of even my own growth and learning journey. And I've been diving so heavily, obsessively into this kind of intersection between QuickBooks, bookkeeping, accounting, and automation. So it's been a lot of fun. It was fun to have that workshop, and I look forward to doing more online. Right now, I'm hoping to have a video coming out here soon. My goal is to have one recorded and posted by this coming Monday. I'm sure whenever this comes out, it will hopefully have already been posted. Let's go, manifesting that. And so yeah, it's been a real exciting adventure doing that in person, and I'm looking forward to doing more of them.
Yeah, I think as we bring an in-person event, see how that goes. It's difficult because we have a lot of space between us, but we'll make it happen. And even if our whole team isn't there, that's our goal, is to grow our community and have different parts of the Art Arbor community growing throughout different parts of the country and different hubs that we can influence in. And hopefully we build some advocates for our brand, and we have people going forward and continuing that on and working together. That's our goal, through our networking events that we want to get going. And to just give you an idea of what that might look like, it really is just coming on. Maybe there's a topic that we discuss that people can bring their perspective to, and then of course, like in follow up, having that network, adding each other, finding more people to help you be accountable, to engage with your content and grow online, and just follow along with what their art is. Every one of our artist guests that have come on the pod here, I've gotten to know them a little bit more, and I've started subscribing to their Substack, following them on social media, supporting them if I can, going
engaging.
out what they're doing and engaging, and really trying to give back to our great guests that we've had, or any artists that we know, just trying to do the same thing we're all trying to do. We can all help support and engage online with each other to help each other grow and to appreciate what people are doing. I mean, we've invited some people that obviously we've already engaged with and already know, but really some incredible stuff out there. And we want to branch out in the new year too and get some podcast guests that are a little bit different than who we've had before. And also I think getting some guests that we don't know. We'd love, if you're out there and you're an artist or a business person or anything, you have something to offer, reach out to us, info@artarbor.community. We'd love to chat maybe about having you on the podcast as well. We really want to grow and get uncomfortable meeting some new people, because we brought a lot of people from our network that we know that we could tap on the shoulder and say, hey, come on the podcast. But a little bit of everything. We're going to be continuing the Modern Artist Optimization series on the podcast, and we also are going to have companion articles. If you sign up for our Substack, either free or paid subscription, I would say you'd get some addition. We're going to make sure you get some additional value if you're a paid subscriber. That also still gets you an hour call with us if you are sign up for annual subscription of our Substack. We'd love to chat with you in long detail about your career and where you're at. That's one way that we bring value, some exclusive content, some surprise and delight. That's all things that are coming for our paid subscribers, but our free subscribers are still going to get all of our updates and podcast releases, any events we have, any updates. Please sign up on artarbor.substack.com. Hopefully it didn't script the link, but
probably not. Yeah.
That's where you can sign up for our email list. And I would recommend, Substack or a similar, there's other email lists out there, but Substack is just so comprehensive for content and bringing it all together and linking to your other things. It really is our functional website right now, a hub for what's going on.
There's a lot of content on there. Yeah.
And, with an email list, you have control over what your audience sees, where an algorithm decides, we're not going to rely on posting on Facebook to give you updates. We want to get right into your inbox so that you know what's going on and that we are providing value to you consistently. So subscribe to our Substack, and then of course follow along with the podcast. Here on Rooted, we're on several different platforms and on Substack. So wherever you listen to your podcasts, but that way when the podcast comes out. If you're on our Substack email list, you'll get updates, and also, like I mentioned, companion reading and some worksheets or some prompts or different ideas to help you that works along with the podcast, with the topic in the series that we're discussing. And and part of these discussions we're having with artists on our calls that you can schedule with us, we do have a free 15-minute call for anyone. Premium subscriber on Substack, you can book that and we can review. We have our modern AOI, as we like to say, our Modern Artist Optimization Index survey that you can take, and we'll review those results with you and make some recommendations for you in your creative career on that 15-minute call. That's our main action item for you, is write down your goals for this year. See where you're at, assess your career, and we'd love to be in touch with you and chat with you, network with you, grow our community in the new year is our main objective.
Yeah, and this goes for anyone who's even looking to explore some sort of creative endeavor. I mean, it's not necessarily we're here to chat with really anyone who, we consider that to be a level of artistry and artwork. I mean, we're here for that too. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be attempting to do it full time, but even just a side passion project, there's still a level of, intangible things to kind of maybe navigate. And that can be having a sounding board just to talk about an old space for it is what we're here for. The 15-minute call, that's what we're here for, to help with whatever sort of exploration and strategy, or working through bottlenecks or roadblocks. It can be such a fulfilling passion project even, and maybe it does become a full-time thing, and that's that'd be fun. Or it does really find a wonderful big product market fit, and it scales quite a bit. I mean, that can happen too. I think there's a science to all of it, and it's about finding that balance for you. So we're here to help, and we're here to continually provide more value. We've got a lot more in the pipeline, which is exciting. And 20th episode, I mean, I think we can do 20 more. What do you think?
Absolutely. we're gonna keep going. We're gonna at least finish this modern artist optimization series, because we really believe that every one of these topics is so important. We have a lot of great guests lined up to bring their own unique perspective to those topics, and make sure that everyone is working on the things that we believe and have researched and studied to be effective drivers of your career as a creative, or like Andy just mentioned, like, even if you're just getting started, like, I play guitar and I want to join a band. How do I find a band? Come chat with us about that. We've done that. We can help you with that. We know people that can help you with that. Everyone starts somewhere on their path, and maybe you just want to start doing something creative and you're not sure what to do, or maybe you're like, I'd like to get help finding a good teacher or mentor. I'd like to get coaching on what I want to do. Like, I hate my job. I want to be a painter. We can help you find a life. We have a life coach in our network that can help you with that. There's endless avenues that we can explore if you just open that dialogue with us. And that like I said, that's our main goal, is growing our Art Arbor community. Make sure you engage along and follow along with us. And if you have the courage to book that call with us, we'd love to talk to you and meet you, even if you don't know us yet. We'd love to get to know you.
Yeah. I think it'd be there's so many fun ways to explore these new pieces of technology that are really free. They just require some level of input. And I think we all have that 20, 30 minutes a day maybe to just explore what that creative avenue can be. And if you are someone who's got a high level of artistry maybe scaled to some degree, like, there's still a level of growing pains all up the way. So there's always we're here for the space on any frontier.
All right. Awesome. Well, I think that was setting our intention for 2026 here for our Art Arbor team, and really good to kind of reflect on where we've been and where we're going, and a little bit background about each other. Follow us on all the socials. You can find us Art Arbor, or on podcast platforms, Rooted the Art Arbor Podcast. And I am your host and moderator, Jake Vanderhayden, joined by Andrew Arden, my co-host and co-founder of Art Arbor.
Hey guys.
Hope that you all have a fulfilling new year and continued growth. And as I signed off on one of our emails to our subscribers this week, branch out and grow this year. We'd love to have you as part of our community and help us with our own growth as an Art Arbor community. We'll see you next time. This was episode 20 of Rooted, the Art Arbor Podcast. Peace.
Peace.